All right, let's get this thing started. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. This is the Threekit and Zilker webinar. Uh, Today, Rick and I are going to go through 6 different tips about how to get your business selling during this coronavirus pandemic. We all know a lot of things have changed, and that's why today the title of today's webinar is Adapting Sales Strategies in the Post-Coronavirus Era. And like I said, our goal here is really for you to have actionable ideas that your company can take away about how to sell more and how to sell a little bit faster. So without any further ado, introductions are in order. My name is Mark Ubel. I'm the VP of Marketing at Threekit. We're a product visualization company. What that means is we allow companies to take their products and we are able to digitally show them in 3D, augmented reality, and in virtual photography. And letting companies scale that and provide a much more seamless and beautiful selling experience. I'll give a quick intro here for Rick. Rick is a commerce and marketing leader at Zilker. And Rick, why don't you say a few words about Zilker, and then we'll get off to kind of an executive summary and get into the tips.
Yeah, Zilker's a full-fledged marketing and a user experience and system integrator, working with partners like Threekit to implement their solutions with our commerce and order management customers.
Amen. All right, so we're going to get kicked off with a few kind of an executive summary here, and then we're going to jump into the tips. So Rick, why don't you take it away here?
Great. Yeah. So it's a trying time for all of us right now, and we'd like to thank everybody for attending. We know you have other things to do, and I know, heck, in my inbox I have about 10 invites to post-coronavirus webinars. So we really appreciate you taking the time to view the webinar today, as well as if you're looking at it in a recorded version. But the way I want to start out is, when I'm faced with key decision points, and especially at this point and where our industries are going, I turn to objective sources for inputs. And just last week, so it's less than a week old, the Digital Commerce 360, most people might know it too as an old school as internet retailer, put out a 111-page report called the Coronavirus Crisis Report. And so what I want to do is pull a few of those things out as we go through the webinar today and inject some of the advice and input that they're getting from around the industry on how, folks within our B2C and B2B and retail channels are kind of addressing these situations. And, this is right from their executive summary on the screen. Not all of us were caught off guard. There are a lot of people that have e-commerce solutions and multi-channel solutions as their top choice. What coronavirus has done for us now is it's really accelerated those, and it's causing us to double down. And if you look at that third bullet, business marketing and operation strategies that will work more effectively and efficiently for the long haul. That's what our webinar is about today, is giving you some helpful tips on how to work more effectively and efficiently. And there will be winners and losers, and we're hoping that the folks on this call and we'll take some of the advice and plan accordingly and become a winner on the other side. Next, Mark. So from that executive summary, I pulled a couple questions that I thought were very relevant in today's conversation. One of them was, when they were asking what mistakes retailers had made so far. And I was definitely in this camp from thinking that it was only going to be, businesses that dealt with China were going to be impacted, as well as it was going to be some kind of short-term event in the US. And we quickly found out that that's not the case. It's a long-term event and it's affecting the entire world. The other thing is it really highlighted the fact of cash flow, how cash is king in businesses. And we've seen some of the biggest businesses in the US suffering in just a week or a month's time because of the lack of cash flow. So we need alternatives that are going to pay off quickly and provide a positive cash flow for organizations. And so what it's also doing is forcing people on the e-commerce side, right? The penetration into e-commerce is even greater now. Like I said, it's caused it to accelerate and move quickly. So we're also finding that they're expecting to have many more jobs created from within the digital commerce industry based on this crisis. Next. And I just pulled a couple charts. The study that they put together in the report had a lot of great surveys and analysis in it, but these are, I think, a couple that highlight what we're going to talk about, which is on the left-hand side, it's really a couple of the key things that people are doing is they're planning. They have to reorganize, reforecast their sales, plan what they need to do going forward. They know that companies are turning towards moving their business online, accelerating those online strategies. And on that right-hand chart, they were asking folks within the survey, how aggressive are you going to be at going after, these changes and accelerations within the e-commerce space? And you can see with that teal and dark green area that it's quite high, that folks are really aggressively making plans to leverage a better customer experience, make sure that the web channel is a channel that their customers can count on. Even some are taking some action, but a lot are taking that aggressive action. And so, what Mark and I wanted to point out was, don't forget about some of the hints that we're going to be bringing up as you're doing your planning. We just want to remind you of how some product configuration capabilities will really enhance a customer experience and provide a good ROI. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Great, thank you. Thanks, Rick. I was on mute there for a second. So look, what we're looking at here is we've got a cause, COVID-19 disruption. And that means if you are a non-essential business, you've almost definitely halted production. And what that means for everyone on the line here is your business has started thinking about, how do we cut costs and how do we look for new ways to drive sales to make up this gap? So that's what's happening right now. And there's this sort of mega trend that's now happening in even greater spades, especially in the B2B manufacturing area, which is the consumerization of IT. And that means corporate buying and selling is going to become as fast, easy, and engaging as consumer buying and selling. So that experience you have on Amazon needs to be delivered in the B2B and manufacturing environment now. And that's the expectation. And that's being further accelerated by this COVID-19 disruption. You can no longer meet in person at sales meetings. A lot of the things that were done in the past can't happen. So it goes to this consumerization of business services. So let's jump into the insights. So first, in 2018, 67% of buyers said they do not want to talk to sales first. Look, this is going to continue to accelerate again, but this is 2 out of every 3 people would prefer to do their own searching on your site and across your competitors before they actually say, hey, I want to get in contact with you. So here are some tips. Tip number 1, open the top of the funnel for your business. So instead of hoping that prospects go to your website and fill out that contact us form and type you a whole bunch of sentences about what they want, you could consider letting your customer configure your product themselves and then get in touch with you. So they're coming to you saying, instead of saying, hey, do you provide that pipe with these fittings and with these measurements? They can say, hey, I was on your website. I see that you offer the product that I want. Now I want to talk to you about quantity and price. They come a lot more qualified and they come a lot more interested. Second, instead of hoping that more traffic comes to your cool online experience, leverage Google Analytics, invest in SEO, optimize in AdWords. This is particularly useful, we found, with our manufacturing and B2B clients, where it's often not as competitive in these spaces, where if you create a good experience and have some good content and writing on these topics, you can get a high ROI from SEO investments in AdWords, drive that top of the funnel traffic to your experience. And third, your sales team, instead of hoping that your sales team always nails your product pitch, why don't you consider giving your sales team sort of a self-guided product exploration? So this is something where your sales team can click on the product and show people, hey, this is what the product does, this is how it works, and then the salesperson is more likely to nail that pitch. I want to give you an example of a company that's done this, a Threekit customer. The company is called Oak Beams Direct. And Oak Beams Direct sells trusses, which are essentially structures that hold up the ceiling of a building. Their customers are general contractors and architects. And in the past, what they were doing was the standard contact us form. So you show up on Oak Beams and you say, hey, I want to trust for my building, and you fill out the contact us form. Hey, here are the measurements. Here's what I'm thinking. And then, Oak Beams would then pay their 3D designer to mock this thing up, and then thus would commence this back and forth conversation with sales. So really slow sales velocity and low conversion rate. And what we've got, and hopefully I'm going to share my screen real quick here to the Oak Beams page, is this ability now to sort of configure the Oak Beam in real time. So a customer comes to their website, they can choose the styling of the Oak Beam. They can choose things like what pitch it will be configured at, how the width of the tie beams, which is that brick part that you see there. And in real time, that customer's coming to their site, getting this experience, and then they see the price. And now they can just add to the cart, and they can either do an e-commerce checkout, or that customer can get in touch with contact Oak Beams Direct and know exactly what they want and know that Oak Beams offers this. So like I said, this was a major change for Oak Beams Direct. They got a lot more leads coming to their website because they're delivering a better customer experience, and their sales velocity went, 2 or 3 times faster now because that customer already knows what they want and they're able to kind of get through that sales process faster. So second insight, as suppliers expand reach, so the suppliers to these manufacturers and B2B companies, commoditization becomes an issue because everyone is using similar components. So that means as a business, you need to offer more value-added products, and that often means more complexity. So here's tip number 2. Let your sales team build your product from the ground up with your customer. So there's 2 ways that we look at this in the Threekit world. The first is the buyer has must-haves. This is the reason they came to you in the beginning. So these are requirements that they need for their product. That lets you establish a baseline product. You get the customer and they're nodding their head and they're saying, yep, that solves my needs. But the other thing is that a keen salesperson will be listening throughout their conversation, and they'll hear other pains and other opportunities. And during that time, you can add features and materials to that baseline product. So the customer's all of a sudden thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. I want that thing. And now you're upselling, getting additional margin and revenue from that sale. A customer example of ours that does this is a company called Boston Tech. They make ergonomic workstations. Most of their customers honestly use these workstations in factories. Before Threekit, what they did is honestly, and I think some people on the call might still be doing something like this, so I don't want to throw too much shade your way, but they would send their customers and potential customers a 60-page manual or catalog, if you will. And from that catalog, the customer could pick out things that they think would be a good fit and then get in touch with sales. Obviously, this yielded to relatively low lead volume and, again, a complex sales process that had a low conversion rate. What Threekit enabled is this process where a Boston Tech salesperson now can get on a sales call, and let's say, let's take again, they're making a workstation for a pipe manufacturer, and they want to sell 200 workstations to this pipe manufacturer. And this pipe has complex assembly. So during this time, they could essentially say, hey, what are the tools that are needed in this pipe assembly? Okay, based on that tooling, we're going to assemble how high this desk should be. And does this desk need to be able to rotate to different areas of the factory? Okay, well, we can add casters to the bottom, which are wheels. And do we need various compartments, and how large are the tools? So now you can add compartments as part of this desk in the stand-up rig to add things like that. What type of lighting do they need? You can add lighting to the desk. And so you're taking these requirements and you're building a base model, and then you're taking all of the things that they might need and adding it to this workstation. And then in real time, the customer's seeing it and getting the price for it. So again, adds a lot to sales velocity for Boston Tech. And what Boston Tech does is they've enabled all of their distributors to use this same tool. So their distributors and resellers are now using it to drive extra sales. Let's move to insight number 3. And this is buyers want to be engaged across a wider range of channels. If your salespeople now are only using the phone, they're probably leaving money on the table because there's a lot of other ways to engage with people these days. Here's what we're seeing. Video. Video, seeing is believing. Studies out there show that when you can see a face and a video experience, you're building trust and rapport with that person. Again, a lot of Threekit customers and sales teams with Threekit are showing that product and they're building it in real time. The second is texting, and this is just a faster way to be in touch with people. Hey, I need to change the meeting time, or hey, what was the deal with that proposal? Can you give me a little bit more information? My boss is asking. Again, it's a faster and easier way to communicate with your prospects. And last, something that Threekit generates automatically are QR codes. So let's say with that Boston Tech example, the salesperson generated the exact desk that that person wanted. The Threekit, the Boston Tech salesperson could then send that QR code to the person, and they could share that with their boss or their team, and everyone on that team could scan that QR code and see that desk or that workstation in 3D on their phone. This also works for augmented reality. So it's just sort of a more flexible and easy way to sort of share material with these sales prospects and answer questions and get them more involved across something that isn't just the phone. So those are the 3 tips from the sales, from the Threekit side. And now I'm going to hand it over to Rick. He's got a number of insights as well to handle from the Zilker side.
Great, thanks, Mark. Those were really helpful hints. So now what I want to do is I want to paint a picture in a scenario around frictionless sales. But I'm going to use a real life case study of some struggle that I recently went through as a B2B buyer, purchaser, and show you through that. So head to the next screen, Mark. So what I'm part of a team, leading a team that's going to be opening a Cleveland office in Zilker is the scenario. And it's a real scenario. I'm actually involved in it right now, even amid the whole COVID crisis. We're opening an office in Cleveland. I need to furnish a couple of my Zoom rooms. And so I started looking around at some, and I found this pretty cool media table that allows me to be able to set up media, have some power stations on the desk, and even customize it. But when I first got to the site and landed on the product detail page, after searching for it, I actually found that I actually didn't know that it was a customizable desk until I choose the power option. As you see in that bottom left-hand window, I wasn't even able to know that this had multiple options that went along with it. I knew that there was a power option, but if I thought that that was the only black color desk, then I wasn't going to go further if I'm looking for something that's a little bit more customizable. So not exposing that was causing the first bit of friction, potentially, and could cause me to go away. On the right-hand side, you see then once I select the power and I select the size of the desk table that I need, I'm offered up with these color selections. So I can pick the top, I can pick the edge, and I can pick the frame color. And but the thing is I can't see it, I can't visualize it, and I'm not sure if I'm picking something that's going to work out well in the office. And I really wanted to do that, and I don't usually buy office furniture for a living, so I really needed some advice. And so what I wondered, being in the business and whatnot, if you head to the next slide, Mark, is I went back and did a Google search, and I looked at the competitors. There were 2 other people that were actually buying keywords in Google that I saw when I was doing this search, and found that there were a couple other competitors. I clicked through their links, and I found it was really similar experience. Not any better than before. I'm selecting from lists, and I never get to really see the finished product in its form. And so once again, causing friction, causing me to slow down my my whole search effort. So as a last ditch effort here, I kind of moved into, if you had the next slide, Mark, I went to the actual manufacturer's website. Thought for sure they're going to have a tool, since they're probably the ones that are producing this customized table. They're going to actually have an experience that's going to allow me to pick the top, the edge, and the frame color, and be able to visualize it. And I was wrong. So they don't, and no one in the industry. So now I've got friction all around me, and my ability to be able to pick this furniture and know that it's probably going to be the color that I want, fit into the room well. So what I did is I actually turned towards, I filled out a contact us form on the first vendor site, and thought I'd head down that path and let them guide me through a process. So if you head to the next screen, Mark. When I'm at the vendor, then they actually produced a quote for me, as we talked about the tables. We used the web in our conversation, but actually get this text-based quote. Now that allows me to be able to pick the custom aspects, but it's all text-based. It's not using the images from the web. It's not flowing the images of the product. If once I do make these selections, I've got to print it off. I've got to make these selections manually. I guess I've got to scan it in and I've got to send it to them. Or maybe I could type it into an email, but it just creates a lot of work and it's going to extend the process, right? And you know, out of that Digital Commerce 360, one of the key things they said is the automation of the procurement function and generating a faster supply chain capability is really what's needed as we move forward and move out of COVID situation. So this company has a lot of opportunity to be able to do this process a lot better. So if we head to the next screen, I kind of put, go ahead and advance, Mark. Yeah. So what I did is I put together wouldn't it be great if, you remember the old Miller beer commercial? Wouldn't it be great if my experience could be better? I could pick the top, the edge, and the frame, and it displays, you know, using the Threekit tool in a much better way. I gain the confidence that I need. I'm able to pass that on into my cart, my commerce cart, which is what Zilker could do for you, and integrating into your commerce solutions. Give me the confidence that it's in the cart. Once I'm there, I can decide if I want to speak with a consultant to make sure I'm making the right choice. If I choose that I want to, I can print a PDF for a quote for approval. So if I could have those images with the final product go to a quote, a PDF quote sheet that I can then send to my executives and have them or my management approve the quote. I have a $12,000 quote here, as a matter of fact, and so I'd like to be able to display to them what my thoughts are around selecting the right kind of furniture for the office. Or what would even be better yet is to have an email at the cart that sends the cart out or invites them into the cart to allow for the approval process to happen. That would really smooth the whole effort. Once it's approved, if I could integrate that and pass that order off to my ERP or OMS or both, and let that order management system or ERP system then be talking to the manufacturer supplier and send those options in electronic form out to that manufacturer supplier. They have everything that I had selected and I had confidence in, and they're able to then ship me a product that's made to the specs that I had put together. To me, that's a better loop for folks and ties in really well. Yeah, so I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead and advance. So one of the things too that we wanted to point out, you know, after you get that, you know, that live scenario well, is don't forget about the entire user life cycle. The whole life cycle matters, not just up to the point we're ordering. You know, a lot of folks might talk to you about the ordering process. So Mark, if you head to the next screen, you know, with that last screen that I talked to you about with the full end-to-end process and all the integration to, you know, consultants and your order management systems and your manufacturers and the whole supply chain is speeding up that supply chain. That's affecting your brand. That's affecting their overall customer experience. And one of the things that came out of the Digital Commerce 360 report was, you know, what's happening amid the COVID situation is that fulfillment is being delayed by up to 40%. From the time you click the buy button to the time that it was sent out for delivery or picked up for delivery was 15 hours. That in itself was the past of being 15.1 hours and then moving to 21.2 hours is really not acceptable for most of your customers. There's no reason, if you didn't have totally integrated solutions from end to end, that you couldn't get that order out in just a few hours to your customers and be able to turn things around and complete the experience in a non-manual way, and you know, removing all the friction. On the right-hand side, in the Forrester quote that I pulled forward, which, you know, dates back to 2018, but still is relevant today, is as we apply that self-service, it's not just for the ordering process. It's the request for quote process that we could be impacting. It's to get the purchasing approvals, as I noted in that flow before. And it's also in the return processes. So even though the return is considered a negative financial situation, it still is, you can impact the customer experience greatly if you give them a great experience through all of that. So providing those good self-service tools from an end-to-end capability and having the integration within your supply chain is a key process that you should be planning as you move forward. Next screen. And what we want to say is that, you know, when people do invest in these, there's payback. There's payback in so many ways. If we head to the next screen, the way we look at things at Zilker is, you know, we look at the whole equation. We look at all the metrics that are going to be impacted. And we begin to take your features and functions and define the gaps that you might have in your solutions as we look at you and work with you. And we put those into buckets that are going to be meaningful to really move metrics and to have an ROI that you can take back to your management and begin to raise those types of solutions to the top. And the solutions that we're talking about here with Threekit are pretty much, if you look towards the bottom of that conversion table or the conversion column, product comparisons, the RFQ flows, product configuration, other self-service, all the self-service capability that you're able to give and let people select the kind of products that they want has a huge impact on conversion. And just small fragments of conversion changes for most of the clients I work with result in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of revenue. So if you're at a time now where you're looking for something that's going to give you a faster payback, impact of positive cash flow, it's the solutions that we're talking about and the hints that we're talking about today. Next screen. And just to kind of pull a full circle, with the Digital Commerce 360 report, they also, of course, are guiding folks towards the things that drive ROI. And they say that companies that invest in digitizing their supply chain can get an 18% return on their investments within a 12-month period. So it's beginning to provide that positive cash flow that's needed. And then the revenue for web-only companies. So these are companies that prior to the COVID situation, they had to rely on the web as their only channel. And they were seeing a 30% growth because of the strategies that we talked about and some of the features and functions that we talked about here. They take that part of it seriously. So as you're planning to reforecast where your sales are going to come from and you start to elevate that e-commerce channel, keep in mind the product configuration capabilities and these customer experiences that we talked about today. So now we'll open it up for some questions from anybody that's on the call.
Great. I see two in there right now. Rick, I'm seeing one. Maybe you can handle this one. It says we have nearly 80,000 products, and approximately 25% of those have configuration tied to them. What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, I think, there are a lot of companies that have large product sets. And and I'm a former accountant, and one of the things that I've seen over the years is that the 80-20 rule really plays out. Meaning that, 20% of your SKU list is going to result in 80% of the value or the returns or the sales. And every time I play that out, it ends up being true. So what I would do is just take that, sort your items, the configurable items that you have an opportunity to make impact on, sort those by sales and go after the top 20% of those. And when you break it down into smaller components, it's easier to adapt and to take on. The other thing that I would say from an ROI standpoint is that what we're seeing is in this situation is customers are getting creative. They're turning back to their supply chain. So like in this case, we saw that the supplier and the reseller of the products both didn't have the solution. So if the reseller would go back to the supplier, the vendor, the manufacturer, they could work together and partner together on funding this type of thing. And that's a way for them to get funds. There might even be some incentives if they're increasing their sales for the particular product, that there might be some incentives if you hit certain plateaus, which could also provide some payback value of this. So that's the way we get creative with customers at trying to help find ROI for these solutions.
Nice one. Another question was, what integrations do you offer? Which I assume, I'll take this from the Threekit side, and then Rick, you might have some additional platforms that you guys work with really closely. But on the Threekit side, we're pretty agnostic. We have an open API. We've got built integrations and connections with Shopify, Salesforce CPQ, Enforce CPQ, SAP Hybris, WooCommerce. I could be missing one or two, but I know that we're kind of constantly working on these and developing these connections, and we're kind of open to whatever our customers are working with, either on the ERP side, but also on the e-commerce side. So lots of flexibility there to be working with a wide range of folks. Rick, were there particular integrations on the Zilker side that you guys are more or less keen on?
Yeah, that's funny. I'm glad you didn't name the ones that work because we're helping you with those. We're helping Threekit with some integration with Magento into the
Mhm.
Magento Commerce Suite with
Oh,
Adobe,
absolutely.
and
Important.
also HCL Commerce,
Yeah.
and even now we're doing a lot of work around Elastic Path in their Commerce Suite. So we look to that we have plans in the future to also make sure it's integrated well with those Commerce front ends, as well as there's a lot of headless solutions that are sitting on top of Commerce that we've been trying to raise up higher in our to-do list to get those integrated into the overall experience. So
Cool. One or two more came in here. Your tips all include how to configure items, but can the overall solution also deconfigure items for my repair teams in the field to see a breakout of the equipment that needs repair?
yeah, actually that's a good one. In the B2B space, we see, um, and a good example is someone that's maybe in the heating and air conditioning, right? And they're sitting there and you're trying to figure out the right repair part that's needed for that. So we've seen a lot of folks head down the commerce space in B2B from a repair part standpoint and have this need or this requirement to create like a bomb, a blowout of the product that is then showing all the components and allowing someone to be able to click on or highlight a particular part in there that's needed to be ordered, drop it into the cart, get that off, check which suppliers might have it in demand and shoot that order off to those suppliers to get that quickly. I mean, you can imagine somebody that's in sub-degree temperatures that need to have their furnace going rather quickly. And so we've provided those kind of services and solutions to folks using these types of solutions.
Cool. I'd encourage anyone who's on the line, throw any more questions out there. Those are, what was that, three good ones. If you got anything more, throw it out. Um, I'll wait 5 more seconds. Otherwise, hey, Rick, this has been great. Thanks for joining me. Everyone, thanks for joining. Like Rick said, it's been it's a crazy times right now. And, I think all eyes are focused on on the business side, at least, how do we drive sales and kind of create more effective habits and kind of scalable businesses here. So, uh, we'll be following up with the recording of this webinar for you all. And do know that, if this is something that interests you, go ahead and reach out to Rick and myself. You see our emails there on both of our sides. We'd be happy to set up a consultation and take a look at your business. No pressure, no kind of hassle on that side. I think it'd be, an interesting activity for the business and for our side. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll be following up on email, but stay safe out there, guys. And thanks again.